What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Around the Metaverse, our weekly show where we bring together some of the best content creators from the blockchain and NFT gaming community, talk about all the recent news, and give you guys everything you need to know to stay up to date. My name's Adam. I'll be your host today, and we're back after a short hiatus with you guys. But we got an amazing group of guests to bring y'all for our first show back in a couple weeks. So first and foremost, we got CryptoStache in the house. How you doing, my friend?
Back at it again. Ready to jack some things up here in the metaverse with all you guys. Took some time off, and we did the whole Bitcoin Miami thing, and then I lost my voice. It was crazy. So good to be back with everybody.
Rested and recovered, thankfully, after the conference kicked some of our asses. But that's another story. Go watch the recap video if you want to see that. We got Zueljin in the house. Good to have you back, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I saw the recap video. It was great. It was very informative, and it made me jealous that I wasn't there.
Exactly as intended.
I think that was the goal then. I think we did a pretty good job in that case.
Yeah.
We got a new face to the show. So to give a short introduction, we got Bulldog1205 here. He does some awesome play to earn content. Some of the hottest on the block, focused around Splinterlands primarily. Great to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, well, can't wait to jump into some of the great topics we have with you, man. And last but certainly not least, a familiar face on the show, and happy to have him back. We got Sam from NFT Gamer TV. How are you doing?
Doing well. Happy to be back on here. Thanks again for the invite.
Of course, man. Happy to have you. And we got a great show for you guys to jump in today. Some pretty exciting news to talk about in the metaverse space, with some bigger names kind of jumping into some of their initial bigger plays here in the metaverse. We got Lego sort of partnering with Epic Games, and they're about to be making a metaverse that's safe and fun for children. We got Starbucks and Chipotle, some retail restaurants kind of diving in here with some NFTs and some digital experiences they're starting to build, maybe gearing up to make a larger move, who knows. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about, should you ever buy a celebrity NFT, and some recent news involving Floyd Mayweather, and some, I guess typical, if you think about it now, news that maybe isn't too surprising for some of y'all out there. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like and subscribe. Smash that like button and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Show the YouTube algorithm that we're not going anywhere, and the metaverse is definitely gonna be happening in the next big thing. But let's jump right into this. Lego enters the metaverse. We got a great story with Lego partnering with Epic Games, one of I'd say Steam's biggest competitor in the game services or gaming platform type of marketplace. And Epic has been known to already be embracing sort of the metaverse, whereas Steam was kicking all of their kind of play to earn, anything that had to do with a blockchain, off of that platform. Epic was like, come on board. We'll let you guys innovate on our platform. But I'm curious, they're positioning this metaverse to be like for children, right? So it's going to be a Lego metaverse that's safe and fun for children and families, of all ages, right? And I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on how that's going to play out. Stache, let me start with you. Do you think it's even possible to create a metaverse that is safe and fun for children and families? Like, how do you think Epic and Lego go about achieving this?
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be a concern when it comes to online anything, right? How do you let a child interact online without it being 100% moderated all the time? And it's almost impossible. I mean, you can't moderate a child their entire life, like looking over their shoulder every second of every day. You have to put some trust into them, but we can build in controls and mechanisms into what they're going into to try and mitigate some of those things off the bat. So I mean, when it comes to what we're seeing here with Lego and Epic, I mean, these are two massive companies. I mean, Lego has been at the forefront of some of the coolest things that we've seen. I mean, some of my favorites from my childhood, but like coolest experiences we've seen, and they've gone into the digital realm in a pretty big way. I don't know if you guys have played any of the Lego games, but they have like a huge library of Lego games, and so just imagine that being all these interconnected worlds inside of like a Lego kind of situated metaverse. I think it just comes down to, how do you then let those people, let kids interact with each other in a multiplayer way that works. And we already see environments that do this, like Roblox does it in a pretty decent way, but there are definitely improvements that can be made. And I think that, with having Epic Games behind them, that could be a pretty big, powerhouse to help them create these standards. And this is something we talk about a lot, or I talk about a lot in particular, is industry standards. When you create these standards that can be incorporated into, we'll say, like game development platforms like Unity, like Unreal Engine, or some of the other ones, Cry, things like that, that are being used to create all these experiences from the ground up. Well, then you could have this as a default plugin. It's like, okay, well, if you're doing anything with this type of content, it has to be has to meet these standards that this plugin sets. It's already a default within the app itself, so it's you don't have to think about it, right? Not everyone is having to create things around different sets of like, okay, here's what's acceptable. We know here's the standard, and that I think is one of the things that Lego's really trying to pioneer here, is creating that digital standard that we can all go off of, that every company can then say, okay, here is the best way to go about this. And so I mean, how are they going to do that? I think it just comes down to technology, like finding the best ways to let kids interact, and that's not an easy thing. So it needs to be something that I think they step through procedurally before they just kind of release it to the wild.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's I mean, I'm sure, like you said, they're going to be software innovated around this too. Like, I mean, similar to how there's like anti-cheat, right? When you sign into Modern Warfare or things like that, when you sign into
It's
Roblox,
become
there's
more
going to be
standard.
anti-TTP, which is time to penis for all of you guys out there if in
We
user-generated
definitely don't
content.
want
But
kids getting
it's
to
funny.
that. Yeah.
Well, no. So it's funny that you bring up Roblox, because I don't know if you guys heard recently, they're actually not like under fire, but the like pop culture news that they have been involved in recently is like Kim Kardashian and Kanye West's daughter or son, I forget which one, was on Roblox and found their way to like a digital experience built on Roblox where Kim Kardashian's sex tape was like embedded into it, right? So her like child saw, well, didn't really see like the whole thing because
You
they
can't
found it
see
out, but
that.
but so essentially they've stumbled upon to their parents' sex tape in Roblox, right? Which, I mean, it's funny you brought that up because I mean, Roblox does do a good job, I'm sure, but there's always going to be ways around that, right? Which is why I think it's going to be interesting to see how Lego and Epic go about doing this. But Zueljin, let me ask you on a different note here. There was no mention in that article of them doing any of this on a blockchain or having any of this connected to what let's call Web3, right? So I'm curious, like, do you think that maybe that's in the roadmap and they're not announcing it yet, or like, do you think they're just gonna go the complete in-house, non-blockchain, non-open source route? And like, what would be the advantage and disadvantage of that?
I mean, I think they'll go non-blockchain specifically. Blockchain's kind of something that caters to adults more. Not that the values and the principles and the benefits can't go on to people of all ages, but as far as moderating and using and having access to a wallet, it would definitely have to be something multi-sig or set up by an adult, because it's dealing with funds and money. I think most of the platforms that have digital assets like V-Bucks, for instance, for Fortnite, have some parental controls in there that are kind of set up to where, you pretty much need an adult, or at least you need to be a smart kid that can fool the system that you're an adult. So there's, like Stache was saying, it's very hard to monitor stuff like that. There's inherent advantages of having true ownership of assets through blockchain, of course. And there's some security measures and features that could be really, really beneficial for that too. But I don't think they stand to be able to get any successful marketing by calling it blockchain. And as early as we are in the adoption phase, something this large as Lego, I don't see how it would be advantageous to them from a marketing standpoint to really garner more audience due to blockchain, and you know, instead of actually scaring people off because it's blockchain integrated.
Yeah, and I mean,
I will say
unfortunately,
too. Oh no, I was gonna say, I was just real quick, like too. One of the things that when we talk about like, oh, is it going to be blockchain? Could it be blockchain? There's varying degrees of how you can incorporate something like this. So as simple as maybe using like a zero knowledge proof cryptographic kind of identity could actually work really well in this favor, right? Being able to know how old somebody is for certain experiences, but not have any of their own personal information actually tied to it. So that information is not being transmitted across servers or being housed in a certain sort of way. So, I mean, I think that there could be ways, but yeah, I don't know that it would be like fully decentralized type of thing.
Sure.
well, yeah, and it's funny because like what's gonna be, I mean, my bet on the alternative, right? The other option is the traditional freemium microtransaction route, which if it's not blockchain, I'm sure it'll be, So unfortunate
How else
maybe,
do they
but
make
we'll see
money?
what happens. Yeah.
You got to think about like, okay,
Well,
like this is going to take money, right? I mean, got to
Yeah.
make money.
yeah.
Yeah.
True. You're not. I mean, you're not wrong. But then, why are we here? Why are we on this show? You know what I mean? What are we talking about, right? I'm sure Lego and Epic, if they adopted some more technological measures that brought value back to the people that are going to be interacting on it, it would go over well all around. Maybe not
You would
with current
definitely
education, right?
you
Around
would
it,
definitely have to implement something that would be very advantageous. Like there's a lot of I'm pro blockchain, of course. We all are here. That's why we're here. But if someone were to integrate blockchain technology into something simple like driving your car, you'd have to say to yourself, like, how does that benefit me? Like, what does that do for me? If there's a clear inherent advantage and it would save me time, money, or add a bundle of convenience to my life, at being a pro blockchain guy, I would be like, of course. Even skeptical people would see the advantages and say, this is something that I should investigate at the very least. But if it's just adding a level of complexity to something for no inherent advantage on the consumer end, then the adoption is not going to take very well, right?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, with Lego too, it's like you said, their audience maybe is probably not necessarily geared as
Correct.
much towards everything that we're talking about on the show.
Right.
But
I've actually worked as an influencer with a Lego game, not anything related to blockchain or anything like that. And one thing with Lego is they are extremely strict and they want to control absolutely everything, and they're protective of their brand, and everything has to be extremely kid friendly. And they go completely over the top with it. Like, it was extremely annoying, even having to work
Disney
with it.
experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even more so than Disney. Like, Lego
Really?
wants to be in absolute control of everything. So that's something that makes me think they're not necessarily going to see a need to use blockchain here when they can be in control with their own software and everything, and no need to put it on blockchain.
Well, so then, Bulldog, let me ask you this. So, like, how do you think then this Lego and Epic Games metaverse compares to, say, a crypto native metaverse like the Sandbox, where they're also bringing in some of probably the like huge IP and partnerships that Lego would be working with anyway onto a platform that is, a little bit more open to the, the individual partaking on it?
I mean, I think it's something where Lego, I honestly can't see them doing something like that until they have to, and that's probably going to be how a lot of these big companies even are with blockchain, that they want to control everything and being able to charge, kind of control pricing and all of that. And it's going to be, you're probably going to have other companies like Sandbox and things like that having partnerships that eventually force people into using blockchain technology by when we get to the point where consumers view it as a disadvantage if you're not on blockchain. Right now, I think there's as many people that view blockchain as a negative as there is as a positive. So there's no incentive for a company that's as large as Lego to go against the trend there. So I think you're going to have other companies come in and force their hand, and it's going to probably be a while before we get to that point.
Hmm. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I
like
mean,
Zueljin was
just like
saying, it needs to be something that like this works better. Like we have to use this because it's just this much better, you know. And it could be something as simple as like a zero knowledge proof, you know, type of registration or account system. So I think that that might be the lower level things we'll see kind of being integrated first before we really see full blown decentralized, you know, NFT enabled systems for some of this stuff, especially when it comes to kids. Now, when adult experiences, that shit's out the window, man, because all the money's on the table, you know?
yeah, yeah. Sam, let me ask you your thoughts, man. Like, what do you think Epic and Lego should be doing to ensure that this project is successful in the long run, especially in comparison to all of the, all of the other metaverses that are being built by basically everyone in, Web 2 and in Web 3 today? Like, who's going to want to? I mean, well, this is, I guess I'm answering my own question maybe because I would probably want to play in the Lego metaverse, but what are your thoughts?
I think there's going to be plenty of people that want to play in the Lego metaverse, but everybody's going to want to be able to play with their Lego assets in other metaverses too. And I think that's sort of the like proof that they need that their assets at least should be decentralized, because if you could bring your Lego assets into Decentraland, they're pulling over a whole other market that may just want assets from the Lego game to be able to play with them in other games. And sort of just from that aspect, it'll definitely pull in other markets that might not otherwise go there. Because if I could bring like kid-friendly items to non-kid-friendly places, I think a lot of people would find humor in that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be interesting. And I know Lego too, they've done this they've done this before, right? So they've actually allowed their IP to go outside of the Lego universe, right? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Forza, but in the racing game Forza, there's a whole like DLC package where you can play with Lego like built cars and you're a Lego person, and there's a whole Lego world that you can like drift around. So that's a metaverse-ish thing, right? That we talk about on the show all the time. So, curious to see how that plays out. Were you going to say something, Stash?
Oh, no, I
I
was gonna
thought
say,
someone was
like,
about
yeah,
to
I mean, I
chime
think
in.
that makes sense, and that could be a case for NFTs. But like Bulldog was saying, man, I think some of these people are going to be, the companies are going to be very guarded about their IP and how it's used, and that's one of those big, like, okay, well, hey, if we allow our items to be multiverse, like we're losing control over those, right? I mean, that's kind of what you were saying, right, Bulldog?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, and you talked about how like it'd be fun to take Lego child items and bring them into areas that aren't necessarily child friendly. That's the type of thing that Lego does not want. They don't want to see
Right.
their IP
Yeah.
used in that way, and that's something they're going to view as a negative instead of a positive, because they are very strict on their brand and how it's used, and they don't want to see other people using it without their control.
But
I
then you
mean,
got to look at that too. You got to look at that too. Like that's already something that's happening on the internet. So I mean, you look at like all this, like like we were saying Disney before, how they're very aggressive about their brand. But I mean, there's like Disney porn out there. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy stuff out there, and like so you can't stop a lot of this stuff from happening. But if this was if literally everything was on some sort of blockchain where there was some sort of kind of control like that, and you might be able to exert a little bit more control. So we've talked about like copyright issues being something you really just can't enforce on the internet. It's just incredibly hard. But that might not be the case in 15, 20 years, where we have blockchain systems that have proliferated every aspect of what we're doing. It might be a little bit easier to control some of those stuff. But yeah, right now, I mean, you got to be people. I think IPs have to be a bit guarded. I have to be a bit guarded.
It's the Wild West, baby.
Yeah.
It's the Wild West in the IP world. It's in the digital IP world. But I mean, interesting to see what Lego and Epic are going to be building here, especially in parallel to some of the other things we have going on with other metaverses. But let's
It
jump
could
into our
still be a
next
cash
topic.
grab, though. I mean, it still
Yeah,
could. I mean, like if you think about it, because once again, because we didn't talk about this aspect, but like, okay, well, right, they're going to control every aspect of this, but where's the money going to come from? Like, it's going to be a subscription for kids where parents are going to have to pay $10 a month for their kid to access the Lego universe, metaverse? What do you guys think?
You're gonna have to buy the items offline, and then they'll appear in line. So they just gotta keep loading up on your physical toys.
Yeah,
probably
you know,
just-
exactly. And that could be it, man. Like every time you buy a Lego set, that's how you get, you know, then you can like scan it, because we've seen that with Nintendo, right? They have the little amiibos, and you buy those, and then they have some sort of like actual use in the game themselves, which I think is actually a pretty
There was
cool
that
aspect.
Spyro game too that was just like that.
Yeah,
also,
there's
where
a
you bought
couple
the
that are like that. So I think we'll
figurines.
see more and more of that, but that could be it, right? I mean, that's a good point, Bulldog. Like it could
That's
be
actually
like,
pretty- I mean, that's pretty
you buy
cool,
the
though.
Lego sets to be part of it.
I think that's a good. I mean, I would be into that though. You know what I mean? Like if you know you built your Lego set and then like you were able to somehow get it in the metaverse with that, like only after you were built it. Maybe there's a secret hidden QR that you get only after the full thing.
It's
Like
all
is
together, yeah.
set to, yeah. I don't know.
I
That'd be
want my
cool.
Millennium
Lego,
Falcon
take
then,
notes.
damn it.
But let's dive into our next topic here with a couple other pretty big brand names doing some pretty interesting digital things. So both Starbucks and Chipotle have some recent news coming out where they're going to be. Well, Starbucks is going to be releasing an NFT collection, which comes at the height of, or this announcement comes at the height of some like controversy that they're already under in terms of like how they treat their workers and things like that. So like everyone's like, oh, an NFT now, you know what I mean? Like, why don't you just treat your workers better instead of like, you know, putting NFTs out? So we'll talk about that in a second. And then Chipotle also actually has built their own digital experience within Roblox, which is sort of their first step at doing some like metaverse type experiences where you can actually be like, you know, play as if you were a worker at like the first 1993 or forgive me on the year, but the first Chipotles that were ever built. Which is interesting, is not really that riveting, but still cool nonetheless. But Zueljin, let me start with you. I want to get your opinion on the Starbucks issue. Like, do you think that their CEO basically said, like, by the end of this year, we're going to be in the NFT game, and this comes at the height of like them being under fire and like unionizing essentially over, you know, poor working conditions, treating employees badly and things like that from the corporate level. Do you think
Right.
Starbucks is just riding the hype train on this, or do you see them coming out with something meaningful, or even something that brings value back to people who buy it? Like, what do you think this is going to be?
I mean, Starbucks has always been kind of on the cutting edge of a lot of, you know, I guess you can say hype with marketing and stuff like that. They're a relatively trendy and new coffee company. Not new, but as far as leaders in the industry, they're a big one. And I don't think, like, you know, when you think about metaverses experiences, you think, like we were talking prior to the show, how this would actually affect your experience. Like, do you order coffee in the game, or do you order burrito in the game and actually get it in real life? I think it's going to come more along to like the experiences, like you said. We were talking VR earlier. Have you guys ever played Job Simulator? Like the idea of working in as a barista environment and playing a game, in my opinion, is kind of just good marketing, because simulation is a popular genre. If it's done right, it's really, really fun. I know from personal experiences, I've had a lot of fun playing Job Simulator. It lets you do some crazy things, and it really puts a practical aspect on a lot of things that we as consumers take advantage of when we visit these establishments. And it's general marketing. Like, it's kind of like radio brand awareness. You don't get a whole lot of value from a commercial on the radio, but after you hearing the same ad over and over and over again, you get a specific idea about things. And when you run across it, if you are likely to impulse for a coffee, you're more than likely to recognize Starbucks as a brand that you may want to try or revisit for some reason. So I think it's an extension in branding. As far as the stuff about not treating their workers, I'm not real familiar with that issue at all. I mean, it's definitely a concern, and it shouldn't be, you know, looked set aside or whatever if a company is bad to their workers. But in recent history, we've had quite a few scandals and stories about different companies like Blizzard that wasn't treating their workers really well and stuff like that. And I think some of that just comes to light. A company trying to diffuse that by just covering it up with good news, I don't think is a good idea, but I'm not really sure if that's what's happening or not.
They're like,
Yeah,
here's some
well,
NFTs.
no,
Forget about this other shit.
well, no. So in the article, there's literally it's quoted as them saying that these NFTs are going to provide additional worker benefits. You know, so like,
That's
what does that
interesting
mean?
too.
You know what I mean? Uh,
Right.
who,
Now it could be
Instead of a Christmas
multi-purpose.
bonus this year, you're getting NFTs, everybody.
you're getting NFTs that let you get an extra coffee on your lunch break. Like whoever decides to purchase the Christmas bonus NFT can have an extra 30 minutes on their lunch break for the
I mean,
rest of
it's
the year.
it's like tokenomics, right? They could say specifically that this NFT revenue will be distributed, in A, B, and C, and this portion of it will go to employees and benefits or whatever. There could be some things that they engineer. If this is their plan to fix treating their employees bad, I don't think that's a real good idea.
Yeah, yeah. Because who knows the overlap between Starbucks coffee drinkers and NFT lovers? I mean, there might be a lot. I don't know. But
They could tie it into Wi-Fi access in their cafes, man.
That'd be interesting. Hey, but
Unlimited
Bulldog,
bandwidth
let me
when
ask
you have
you.
an NFT.
What do you think is motivating Starbucks to get into like Web3? Like, what does a coffee company have anything to do like with this?
I think Zueljin nailed it with branding.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of think it's like marketing and even cash grabs and that type of thing at the moment. I think eventually you'll see a lot more uses once, like when you can tie like loyalty cards and things to NFTs. And if people can, I mean, use your wallet when we get to the point where you can use your crypto wallet to pay for a coffee at Starbucks, and if you're holding an NFT in it, you get benefits or something like that. Then that kind of changes everything. But we're so far away from that I don't necessarily see a lot of use cases for Starbucks NFTs at the moment.
All right, yeah. So Q4, if you're a Starbucks drinker, maybe don't buy the NFT. No, but let's talk about the Chipotle experience now. And to give you guys a little background on it, they basically set up an experience in Roblox where you're able to sort of explore an original Chipotle location, as it were, when they were first kind of set up back in the 90s, I think. And then there's a game associated with it where you can actually go in and shoppers come into patrons come into the restaurant and order burritos, and you have to actually make them in the little restaurant under a timeline. And then if customers wait too long and get too pissed, you get fired, and game over, right? And there's another one where you can deliver burritos to people's houses in the Roblox metaverse, but all of the houses look almost copy and pasted because it's Roblox graphics and all that.
You get a burrito, and you get a burrito.
But yeah, I mean, it just seems to me, no offense, but a colossal waste of time. Cool, but why? At least let me order a burrito. From the location in Roblox.
Have you played any Roblox, Adam?
Well, so all right, back when Roblox was back in the Minecraft alpha days, in the Roblox, the youngin days, I was playing Roblox. But before what it is today, the Roblox today is a completely different game than what I was playing 5-6 years ago.
I consume a colossal amount of Roblox content, not by my own choice, because I have a 3-year-old nephew that loves it. And I got to tell you, as far as gameplay goes, none of it is sophisticated. It's very, very, very kid-friendly gaming. It's kind of like MMO questing, right? You go to one objective and you press E, and then you go to another objective and press E, and it's just a bunch of different skins and objectives, and it's essentially just it's very, very simple. Most adults would not enjoy the gameplay at all. So if you can get a 3-year-old screaming about Chipotle because they saw it in Roblox, you're probably going to eat there more often as a parental figure, just because your kid is in love with Chipotle because their favorite influencers or their favorite Roblox games had Chipotle in them.
That's a good point.
That's what I think it is, man.
The kids determine so much.
They do. They direct our entire lives when, we got to pay attention to them, or they're just going to bother us until we cave.
What about training future employees? Like that could be
That's-
they're training kids to be ready to work
Wow,
at
that would be
Chipotle.
interesting. But in a Roblox
There you go.
environment.
Yeah, you don't need any training or food service qualifications at all. As long as you've been through the Roblox experience, you got the job.
That's like the first step.
Can you imagine
mean,
your
you know,
boss threatening to oof you in real life?
I mean, you know, I think that you know, these experiences, like I said, they are very basic, but I think kids like them. It's weird, you know, like I've played
It's
Roblox a lot with my daughter, man, and you know, some of the experiences are super basic, but they're so fun because the reason why they're a lot of times they're fun is because you're doing them in a social environment with other people, right? It's
And
not
they're
just a
themed.
single experience. There's other
Right.
people there doing it. It's kind of just weird and funky. You're just having another weird experience, right? And Chipotle store is one of them. Now, when it comes to like, well, how do like restaurants and brands like really fit into the metaverse? I think that, you know, Zueljin had it right. You know, a lot of it is just marketing, just like you see on radio stations. It's just constant. That's why it's like, like who really watches a billboard and then says, "Oh, I saw a billboard. Now I'm going to McDonald's." Like nobody. But it just keeps it constantly in your mind, in your face, and wherever the people are, that's where advertising is going to be. And so companies have a good foothold in a metaverse. You know, now are going to be able to have more people who are seeing eyeballs and being, you know, reminded that they're a brand out there. You know, if you want a burrito, go to Chipotle because you just played the Chipotle game or your kid's been playing it,
Right.
and I think it's the funniest thing ever because they just get to roll burritos, right? So like
I
simple
don't
things
know.
like
Hey,
that. But then it could, but you really could, like, you know, gamify it and say, like, you know, how are we talking about rewards programs? Well, you know, if you had NFTs, that's great. But what if you were playing the metaverse game of Chipotle metaverse game, and then because you did so good and earned so many burrito bucks, you got a 2% discount on your next Chipotle. And as a kid, then you bring it to mom, like, "Hey, mom, look, here's the coupon I want. Boom, let's go to Chipotle." You know, like those types of things could definitely be something
Yeah.
there. So when you talk about like where do restaurants and things, kind of brands like that, come into the metaverse, and you know, it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you could order from that. It's not going to make the experience any better unless it's an interactive experience, and you actually get to make the burrito that you ordered, and you're like, "Oh, we're going along," and you get to see how it's done or something like that, like in a VR experience. Like think about that, like. If you were in the metaverse version of Chipotle, you ordered a burrito from them in the metaverse, and then what it did is it fed back to you a camera version of the dude who's actually making your burrito, and you get to go like follow him as he's doing it. You see it all
That's
in like a
pretty cool.
VR environment. That'd be interesting. Now, I mean, you
Yeah.
know, how long does that last as a fun experience? But it would still be interesting. So I think there's a lot of different ways you could go about incorporating restaurants and, you know, brands that have physical items that we consume in a metaverse like this. And this is just kind
Sure.
of
And in terms of marketing, it's much more effective than something like a radio ad too, because it's interactive. And
Yes.
it's, you know, it's a much more memorable experience than seeing a sign or listening to an ad or even seeing a commercial, unless it was a very funny video or something. You know, you would get that experience, you know, that you can say, "We did that." You know, it's kind of like writing something down versus hearing it for the first time, or saying someone's name a few times and writing it down.
Mhm.
It's much more likely to stick around. So yeah, you're
And I,
absolutely right.
I think there is a way to get a free burrito in that Roblox Chipotle experience. Not for everyone, maybe, but if you find some secrets, there was mention of it in the article.
Guys, I gotta go. So I gotta go hit up the Chipotle metaverse here. I'm really
Roblox,
hungry, so I'm gonna get that free burrito. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Well,
Think
well,
about,
hey, I
think
mean,
about it
stream.
physically. Think about it physically. They did reverse marketing too. Like if the Chipotle business put out conventional advertisements to get involved with their metaverse, and you know, the top 10 winners of these contests might win, you know, I don't know, $1,000 worth of burritos, you know, or $100 gift cards for the first 1,000 people to sign up.
$1,000
Like
worth
that
of
would
burritos.
drive a lot of traffic and turn it back
Right.
around.
And that's true. And over here on YouTube, Kariga says, "I still watch the Domino's pizza tracker, even though I found out it's fake." But that's kind of like what I was talking about, like very
Oh my
simple.
God,
Like
are
you
you
know the
serious?
Domino's pizza tracker, man. Like, all
You
right,
ruined so
you
many
know,
lives just a while ago now.
Joe is
what?
making your pizza now. Like, okay, he's put it in the oven. It's in the oven now. Like, how do they know it's in the oven, man?
How do you know it's
Aw,
fake?
man.
I
don't know.
always
He
watch that
says it's
thing.
fake. I'm destroyed now. I'm literally destroyed.
Yeah,
now
I
because
am.
thought that
I'm
shit was legit.
shocked also.
Juan be making my pizza every time at my local Domino's. It's always him.
Yeah.
And
You telling me
I'm serious,
Melinda
and
ain't even
he's
real?
a great
God
guy.
dang it.
All right, yeah.
Well, you
All of
can-
our hopes and dreams, our Domino's hopes and dreams crushed.
You can also kind of complete the feedback loop too by having when you actually go buy your Chipotle or something like that, there can be codes on the wrappers where you can enter the code in the game and then gives you some sort of benefit there, so you can complete the loop and
eat 100 burritos in real life. Speed boost. Or eat 100 burritos in real life, get a golden burrito in Roblox.
Yeah,
something like that.
But dude, that's legit things that kids would be excited about doing, you know, because it's just a funny, silly thing. You know what I'm saying? Like even throwing burritos at each other, like they could have a burrito battle, like you roll your burritos and then like boom, you're throwing burritos. Like anything to make kids laugh and have a good time, I think that makes sense in that kind of way, as long as it's wholesome, man, and it's not it's not done in a nefarious way. Keeping them safe.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to Google this because I needed an answer. It's technically not fake, but some stores will game it so that it looks like your pizza's getting there sooner, so that it meets the timer.
All right, there you go.
So it's probably preset, and like they just have to follow timelines. Maybe, I don't know. Well, Domino's drivers, we hope that you're really making those pizzas out there for us, and we want to feel connected to you. But let's jump into it. Maybe we'll meet in the metaverse one day in the Domino's location, and it'll actually be for real. Well, let's jump into our next topic, our last one here, talking about a new project that just dropped in a hot, fiery mess, which is not really a surprise to anyone at this point. That Floyd Mayweather just came out with like the Mayweatherverse or the Mayweatherverse or something like that. But it's like, if anyone has been following, right, even though a lot of people have short attention spans in this space, if anyone's been following, this is Floyd Mayweather's like 6th like NFT project, right, in the span of maybe, I don't know, 24 months, 2 years, which seems like too many to me. And I think this was minting at like 0.3 Ethereum. And then if you go look at the floor for it right now, for the poor unfortunate souls who decided it was a good idea to mint this, they're folding for like 0.04, right? A negative 10x or something like that. But I want to get your guys' opinions on celebrity NFTs and, I guess how to navigate that space, right? So Sam, let me ask you first, like, what are some red flags that you would look out for when a celebrity is coming out with an NFT collection or project?
Probably the biggest thing is if it's being advertised by them versus like a company that they've hired to basically do it. Like if Floyd Mayweather came out and actually talked about like how the blockchain is going to be utilized, what sort of utility the NFTs would have. Like if you just see a bunch of buzzwords coming from the famous person, they probably don't really know what they're building. But personally, I usually stay away from anything that's got like any sort of famous person as the head figure, just because it may not even be them taking advantage of people. It could be a company hiring them that's underneath them actually taking advantage of the space and the people that are in it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate when things like that happen. And like, I guess Mayweather is not necessarily known to be the most ethical guy in general.
It's also not his first cash grab in the space.
It's not.
Not. So we're on number 6 we're on like number 6 in terms of rugs, slow rugs, or like you said, sometimes that like, so this was the Mayweather verse. I don't really know. Like, I didn't really look into it too much because, for any of our eyes, that's obvious garbage. But like,
that's a horrible name. Some of these... Who came up with that name? Like, here's a great name. Let's call it Mayweatherverse. Mayweatherverse. What? Kind of more like come on, man. And like people are and people buy it. And the sad thing is that people still buy into this shit, man. Like he still has fans that like really, and it's so blatantly bad.
Well, Stache, like
Aokiverse is one that I actually went in on. Sorry.
No, go.
Keep going. I was just saying Aokiverse is one that I actually went in on, that they like hosted. He had a concert at NFTLA, and you could get in by just having his Aokiverse NFT, which was pretty cool to actually see that utility behind a token from somebody famous, similar to Floyd Mayweather, famous for different reasons.
But he's actually into the NFT scene. I mean, this dude, he's been into NFTs. He's been championing it for a while, and that's the difference. Like we see like Steve Aoki, Snoop Dogg, people who are like, they're legit in this. You know, they're actually doing businesses and stuff in it, not just like you said, getting some company that is going to do it, and they're just basically being paid, and that's it, and it's going to be another cash grab. So yeah, there definitely is a difference there. Yeah, I agree.
Everybody has their own motivations too for it. Even the people that have been in it. I don't know if you guys saw the sketch between Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg, but Snoop mentions about his NFT, and Kevin asked him about it, and he's like, "I don't know shit about it. I'm just getting this money." You know, it's most people that are generating NFTs are doing it for some sort of profit. Their involvement as a celebrity, depending on how much you regard their actual involvement versus what the item is that you're getting, whether it's for utility or collectability or whatever the case may be, I don't know. I think it's ultimately it's for the value of the consumer. If Floyd Mayweather's NFT, regardless if it was named stupid or if there was something that a consumer can get out of it as a collector that would be valuable to them, that's great. That doesn't necessarily reflect how well the token or the pricing for the actual NFT is going to do. But in the same breath, if it's just a cash grab in general, then yeah, shame on both parties, the consumer and the celebrity.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when will we learn, right? Anyone who's buying this stuff is a glutton for punishment at this
It's
point.
speculation.
Right?
It's hype, you know.
Well, I think if you're looking at this stuff, you should probably kind of ask yourself, would you be buying it if it wasn't an NFT? Like as far as the utility, like getting into concerts we talked about, or some of these other things, because we all like that it's an NFT, but that also shouldn't be necessarily the sole value behind it, just being an NFT. If I mean, if it's got a lot of other benefits, then the NFT is kind of a bonus, then that's great. That's maybe something you should buy. But just because some famous person puts their name on an NFT, that doesn't necessarily make it worth buying.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you guys this then. Like, what sort of consequence do you see? Because I mean, it's super easy if you're famous. You know, obviously now we can see on numerous occasions in Mayweather's case, it's pretty easy to just set something up and like, you know, even though his mint didn't sell out, this most recent mint didn't sell out, I think it's still netted, you know, a decent $100,000 worth of Ethereum, right, or something like that, which is, you know, not an insignificant amount of money for a normal person. And like, what sort of consequence do you see coming down on people who like just continually exploit their fan base using these technologies?
None. This is fifth
Class
one.
action
Look at people like
lawsuits.
Logan
Class
Paul,
action
dude. Like,
lawsuit.
you could just get away with shit like this forever. Like the public just forgets.
I don't know
I mean,
about
he's
that.
already
because
facing a class action.
Right. We've already seen that. We've seen some celebrities and people who have you know, promoted shady coins in the past, like shady you know, not NFTs but like ICOs and shit, getting prosecuted. Yeah. And class action lawsuits, like Sam was saying.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how quickly that actually comes down, and like, you know, especially in these cases, like they're just going to go after people that like are probably going to be able to settle, and like, you know, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to do very much in fighting the occurrence of it happening more and more, you know.
Well, at the very least, you're losing your fans. I mean, that's the thing, is that the more you do this, the more you kind of sucker these fans in. You know, you're losing them a little bit here at a time, and you know, nobody can continue to do that and, you know, garner massive amount of fan base and keep abuse them over and over again. Eventually, you know, people are get sour. Like the tide turns against you, and we've seen that with celebrities, where like they're at the top of the game, and then, you know, there's a couple things happen, and boom, the tide is against them, and now the mob now is against, and they're like, this guy is toxic, you know, and it happens. I mean, it happens, and it can happen pretty quick when it comes to celebrities, I think, in particular with social media these days.
Well, yeah. So
unfortunately, they already get rich though. You know.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that. Yeah, the money's still gonna be there,
Yeah.
but you know, you may lose that future cash cow, right?
thing.
Versus if you did something
it's a
legit.
gamble, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like you do something legit, like what Snoop Dogg has done, and he's building like an NFT empire out of all this stuff. Look how much more value there is going that direction than if you just go like the, you know, couple rug pulls type of, you know, real low key or I mean, low quality offerings, right?
Well, yeah, and the difference too, even like you were saying, Zueljin, how Snoop like there's that clip of him saying like, ah man, I don't even really know, like I'm just we're just getting that money. Like the difference between him and say Mayweather, for example, too, is like the Snoop's NFTs for the most part, minus maybe crypto.com, which we'll forgive you maybe for that, Snoop. It was your first.
He gets a one-time pass
Yeah.
on that one.
Yeah, we'll forgive you for those. But for the most part, like the sandbox stuff, the stuff he's doing with Gala music, all that stuff seems like it's going to bring value back to the people that purchase them, right? Whereas I'm sure if you bought this Mayweather shit, that you're just in the giant hole now with probably no hope of it ever being realized.
And do you think just honestly, you guys, do you think that's from the actual celebrity saying that their lack of involvement or their involvement in a direction that would be bad for their actual product? Do you think NFTs through like Snoop Dogg's connections are just better? Like, do you think the people that eventually got with Snoop Dogg and said, hey, listen, we saw what you did with crypto.com. We know it didn't work out that good. What if we told you that we can help you make something much, much better, more valuable? People will adapt to it and like it more. Do you think it was that direction that just maybe their contacts just worked out better? And the people that just saw that success are just starting to target other celebrities like Mayweather and say, hey, we're going to try this or whatever, Maybe it's contracts. It's hard to say exactly. Was Floyd Mayweather really going out of his way to steal money from people, with a bullshit product? Or is he just kind of a victim of, I want to be trendy, and these people are telling me that if I put out an NFT, my fan base will be loyal,
Right. No, and you're right. I think a lot of it, you put a good point, actually. Are some of these celebrities actually maybe getting a little bit of taken advantage of, right? Companies that are low quality, because there's a bunch of companies out there trying to do that. Like, hey, we can help you. I know, because I've had people approach me. I've had artists, musicians, and people, in my circle approach me to try and get help as well. And, I think there are some shady companies that will kind of take advantage of a celebrity's name, put out some low quality shit. They're getting 20%. They don't care because their name isn't getting tarnished.
Mm-hmm.
And the celebrity doesn't know jack shit about the technology or about the scene or about NFTs. And they end up kind of getting burned. So I think there's definitely that side of it too, But when you see someone do it multiple times, you're like, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, Wouldn't they come out about that though? Yeah. Wouldn't they be like, this company screwed me and you, and we should both go after them?
You would think, but maybe they just don't. Like
celebs don't talk about their that stuff. I feel like.
Well, you get to a certain level, and like there's just so much going on. Like you can't manage it all yourself. I mean, even where I'm at right now, like in crypto, it's hard to like return all the messages, talk to all the people that want to partner, do all these things. So like imagine being at Mayweather's level or being at Snoop Dogg's level. I mean, there's so much out there that you have to have people kind of handling these things for you. If you don't have good people, that could definitely be where the breakdown is at.
Right. And how big could have been an assistant that signed him
up for it?
Yeah.
How big is the fumble? Like, who knows about it? The 10,000 people that bought that didn't like it. The people that lost money on the token, like, it's not a mainstream story. I mean, it is, but in our circle, we know about it. But is this being televised? Like, it wasn't like when Logan Paul filmed a dead body on YouTube. It's some bad news from a celebrity, but you hear about that crap every day. Like, how significant is it in terms of them really, really messing people over?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about it until you mentioned it, is what I'm saying. And I'm in this space. So,
yeah. Well, no, it's funny. Like you mentioned too, maybe it was like the intern who got Snoop signed up for the crypto.com thing. Like he's out, what I mean? Out the door, right?
Right.
You blew your shot,
right.
Bud.
Well, sometimes you need to make mistakes to win, though, right? That crypto.com thing was like him just getting his feet wet.
Yeah, learn from him and do better next time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, so in contrast of each other, Snoop, we'll let you go on the first one, right? Since you've made up for it. Mayweather, no forgiveness from us on your 6th rug pull. So I guess if you're out there and you bought this, or if you're a Mayweather fan in general and don't like to see this sort of things, sharpen your pitchforks and light your torches and start banging down his door. But that's all the time we have tonight, guys. We're running out of time here. I want to thank you for joining us again for our first show back in a couple weeks. We're going to be doing it again next Monday, same time, same place. So don't forget to join us then. I want to thank all of our guests for coming on. Don't forget to check out their channels in the description below. Make sure to like and subscribe this video. Go to their channels and like and subscribe all of their videos. So we can all be one big happy metaverse family, right? But thank you guys. This has been Around the Metaverse. See you next time.